The Museum of Outdoor Arts is a museum where the only walls are the mountains, the only roof the sky. It is integrated into some 400 acres of the Greenwood Plaza Business Park. It is the place where architecture, nature, and art converge. Is this your father's dream?
This was my father's dream.
It was the idea of developer John Madden, whose daughter Cynthia has run the museum for the past 11 years.
Art is meant to be, we believe, a part of everyday experience. And having the art integrated into the architecture, people can come up with their own critiques, their own opinions of it, and it becomes part of the environment.
Harlequin Square is a prime example. The 50,000-foot plaza in black and white terrazzo diamonds is in itself a work of art. Carrying through the clown-inspired Harlequin theme are 7 bronze Harlequin figures by American sculptor Harry Marinsky. But throughout the museum, you will find Colorado artists represented as well, as in this imaginative installation by Charles Parsons. Whether you walk, jog, or bicycle through the park, art will surround you. This is the most recent acquisition, an abstract geometric form that looks as though it may have just fallen to earth. In another part of the museum, these lions reign.
And they're my favorites because they're so primitive looking. They're in this.
And always the visitor is part of the picture. This is a place where you are at home, and the usual rule of look but don't touch doesn't apply.
Everyone loves this place, but children especially. I think one reason they like it so much is it's a museum where they don't have to be quiet and they don't have to honor the space in a reverent manner. They can run and play, have fun.
Hello, I'm John Madden. 34 years ago, I was one of the people that helped start Greenwood Plaza, the business park that we're in.
How this all started was when we traveled, your father in any museum would go in and touch a piece of a statue or just touch things. And he always got screamed at by the people guarding the museums. Don't touch that. You're forbidden to touch that. And that was like in Greece and well, from New York to Greece to many other places, he always got scolded for touching anything. So in his heart, he wanted to build an outdoor museum where anyone could go and touch the pieces that Cynthia and family have chosen to be part of Denver's art.
Having developed this collection, and it's still being developed, what the real goal is to get the people of the community, particularly the young kids, not only so that they understand and have an interest, but get the kids to take an interest in something beside computers and high tech. The idea of incorporating the art is to tie it in with architecture and take really 2 categories of supremely super egos, architects and artists, and combine their work where the architect doesn't necessarily know the artist doesn't necessarily know the architect, but combine their work along with great landscaping and create an environment that is going to be more beneficial to the people in the community. Cynthia took the Fiddler's Green Amphitheater and turned it in from a landscape award winner that George Hargraves had done into an absolute cornerstone, endowment cornerstone for the museum. She took the artwork that was located particularly in Greenwood Plaza, and gave it ubiquity. The artwork is now in several places in town, and who knows, there may be a piece of this artwork on a campus far away someday. I'm just so proud of what's happened to the Museum of Outdoor Art and its influence through education, through just about every facet, its influence on the people in the community.
A great thing about Fiddler's Green, it is an earth sculpture, but also it's a piece of sculpture that people can crawl inside of it and experience it from a three-dimensional feeling. That's when you really discover that landscape is art too.
Fiddler's Green has become an icon or a well-known contributor to the overall metro area. I mean, it's a world-class facility. It just has to be owned by the museum, and we contribute back by allowing, again, the city to utilize the City of Greenwood Village. We promote the SCFD, specifically this will be our third year with the SCFD Bear Fair, which helps get the word out for the SCFD, and it also raises money for the museum. The other unique thing about the amphitheater is that we also have a park, Sampson Park, which is adjacent to the facility, and it's the main entrance for anyone that's going to concerts during the summer. And we, at all times, have a permanent art collection in Sampson Park, and we do special exhibitions at other times. And so in any given summer, at least 200,000 people are exposed to the arts just through their attendance of both the exhibition at Sampson Park, but also their attendance to the art show they went to go see.
The energy that we have inside our vessel, and that's why these are vessel forms. Our souls, our hearts, our thoughts are just a container, and our containers are used up. But that energy and that heart and that soul is spread out somewhere to a higher plane. This is a reference to that. And I have some very close friends and loved ones that I myself want to say that this is a celebration for them. My mom, that had passed away about 10 years ago, and my sister, Paula, and my good friend. When I explained this to my dad said, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and wrote a poem, and I'd like for you to share it with me. So this is my dad's poem, Last Journey. And so my friends and loved ones too, the time shall come
when we must say adieu to this good life and those friends we adore, and travel alone to that distant shore, where love and joy will ever be, with loved ones who have gone before. Goodbye, poor health, life's problems and war, for the ocean of life will be rough no more. Look up, my friends, and you may sometimes see a far distant light on a ship at sea. It may come for you, and it will come for me, for that blessed journey to eternity. We know not when our time shall be, but when I'm called, shed no tears for me. For the joys of heaven I hope to see when I join my daughter and beloved wife. I thank you, God, for a most wonderful life, for your many blessings and loving family. Also for living in this golden age of history, when countless wonders became reality.
Because it's always been on the cutting edge. It provides unique and distinctive opportunities for students, for families, for artists. You know, the artists have a place to, try out new things as well as expand the minds of their students. Students have a unique place to come to learn art concepts in a less structured way. Just like with Peter and the Wolf, having the the painting against the backdrop of the music and having the kids coming in and working with the artists on the painting. Parents bringing the picnics with their kids so that the kids could run back and forth and do what they were doing throughout the performance. Nobody else was doing that. Lunchtime performance series that we did, that was something else that was huge. Provided the free entertainment for the development, for people outside the development. We'd have people come from throughout metro area once a week for the lunchtime performance series. And that was an amazing thing that we did too. And I think it's what kept the museum going as long as it has gone, is because it's always reaching further to do those other things that may be a little controversial, may be a little unexpected, maybe, a little unorthodox. But it's what keeps people coming back.
When the museum began in 1981 with one employee, prior to Lisa Maurer coming on staff, we had loaned offices in the John Madden Company at the Orchard Falls building. So we were officing right there with the John Madden Company and building a collection of approximately 15 pieces compared to the 90 pieces in the collection today that are outdoors all over Metro Denver. And our secondary move happened in Harlequin Plaza when the museum then had its own offices. And then we were operating an education program that was attracting a good 2,000 to 4,000 students a year in private classes and visitations, in outreach programs with the schools that the schools worked with us to develop. And at that point, it went from Lisa and I being full-time staff to an education director and a program director. Along with, we were working with some volunteers and probably 20 or so artists. And we were still maintaining that belief of ours and that value of ours that collaboration was everything. We had begun the Design and Build program, which is a program that a lot of people have spoken about that is definitely a model in collaboration and how process of art transforms the individual and transforms the student. Now, until today, and this is the year 2004 at this point, where the museum has now been an arts center in the city of Inglewood for the past 4 years. And as of today, we have 10 staff members, 50 artists we work with, over 100 schools, and we think we've affected probably 25,000 students in the metro area alone.
It means that it's done a lot to help the community. It's a stable institution. I think it shows a lot of community support, and obviously it's done a lot to help kids and show people what art really is.
Okay, go. What a beautiful day. Look at those clouds.
It's a whimsical place, this Harlequin Plaza. On this day, the Museum of Outdoor Arts is hosting an Alice in Wonderland party for kids and their families.
And your hat is so phenomenal. Will you make me one sometime?
The museum's mission is environments, creating environments, and bringing education into those environments to make art an everyday experience. We like to bring in, like today's event, we like to integrate the performing arts. We like to do events for families in the outdoors primarily.
But the princess ignored it.
Well, the spindle piece was on its own small island where people could drive all the way around it. Well, and so children at one point gathered all around it and drew what they thought was a copy of the spindle piece, right?
And it was inviting for kids because of the three-dimensional, the fact that there was a hole, large hole, and kids could climb up on it and straddle the bronze like they're in some kind of a bronze animal, or they could climb through the hole like it was something in an amusement park. And a lot of Moore's things did emulate nature, and bones and pieces of wood, things that are just naturally around, and kids had a great appreciation for this. The fact that the spindle, when it was positioned in Greenwood Plaza, signified the points of the compass, pointing north and with a hole in it from the east and west, and some of us thought how dandy that was. But I think most of the people going to work, as they drove by it, said, what the hell is that?
One of the biggest challenges in designing this space was making it so it would fit into everyday life and having art as a part of that everyday life. The test of time is always a good thing for architecture, and I think the space has really been successful now that we've had 3 years to test it out. It fits into the environment where people come and pay parking tickets, go to a library, buy a cup of coffee, and may never be exposed to art. And the way the space is designed with the angles and the light, it actually draws these people in that have never had exposure to art maybe. So I think we're reaching a lot more people than we would, maybe not in an environment like this. One of the exhibits that is here now is one called The Oblique Angle, and I think the space is actually part of the show.
There's one thing to have in your charter to be part of a community, like rhetoric. We're part of a community, and yet we kind of remain outside the community. What is beautiful about this is how it integrates. In fact, you have this, the world, the community. You've got the justice system over there, where you go in there and you have to fight court tickets and the rest of the world, that reality smack in your face. You've got a wonderful library down below. There are light sources. It's an environment that embodies what its principles are. And I can't say that about a lot of places.
I like it when art is a part of an environment, becomes a part of the environment, rather than driving along the road and there's a sculpture and it doesn't really go with the rest of whatever it is a part of. Whereas the Lion's Den, it truly is in its environment.
Perhaps what is the soul of a development is what makes it different. And in the context of the Museum of Outdoor Arts, what its special contributions in creating more than just a for-profit center, it had a non-profit appeal. And the non-profit appeal originated with artworks placed in the community in the context of architecture and landscape architecture, but also for the soul of the patrons, for those people that were going to engage the office part. But for those that office in our developments, perhaps a broader consciousness does come to them that we do something different.
Since 1969, the Governor and the Colorado Council on the Arts have recognized 128 Colorado artists and organizations as well as corporate and civic leaders for significant contributions to the arts. The awards underscore the recognition that the arts are a vital part of Colorado's culture and heritage. This year's recipients of the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts are outstanding in accomplishment, unique in character, and unmeasurable in benefit to our state. 1995 honorees are Dr. Norma Levo, a storyteller from Lakewood. The Museum of Outdoor Arts, a visual arts institution with arts education and programming for its community in Englewood. Stretching through a 400-acre business park in Greenwood Plaza, the Museum of Outdoor Art integrates contemporary sculpture into the office building environment. One among a handful of outdoor museums in the country, the Museum of Outdoor Art is a prime example of arts, business, and community working together. Designed to enhance all parts of its community, the museum's artwork, spacious architecture, and landscape vistas offer a contemplative setting for workers to renew during stressful business days and for families to experience art in an unconfined setting. Free festivals, lunchtime concerts, family days, and arts tours further the community bond and provide new amenities to the workplace. Noted as a place that acknowledges mankind's need for space and beauty in an otherwise crowded and often tedious workplace, the museum has made great strides in offering both educational and entertaining experiences. The museum honors local professional artists by giving them many opportunities to work in educational programs. This year alone, more than 3,500 students will experience, plan, and create art in one of the museum's challenging educational programs. Next year, that number is projected to climb to over 5,000. The museum has worked successfully with the city of Greenwood Village and Arapahoe County to maintain a safe and beautiful environment in the business park where people can walk, jog, ride bikes, picnic, and play. The Museum of Outdoor Arts receives the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts in recognition of its successful collaboration of business, arts, and community in offering the public an environmental synthesis of fine art, architecture, and landscape.
My life philosophy and my way of making art and integrating it with life and experiencing it as part of life is something that is totally resonant with the museum's philosophy of making and appreciating art. My own personal definition is art, as an acronym, is all representations of thought. That could include gestures, dance, it can include math equations, it can include ordinary conversations. Every fabric of our being, there are aspects of art in it. And for me, I love looking at those aspects and thinking of how they can be used to enrich our lives and to make our lives more personally meaningful and fulfilling.
I basically would like to talk just briefly about what I feel the Museum of Outdoor Arts does for the community. I'm very excited to have witnessed or watched the programs over a number of years of how the museum actually works on, works with families and invites families in from all over the community. And what really excites me is watching how kids interact with the programs here, because kids love art, they love creating things. And the museum has had wonderful programs in helping these children really get to experience a great environment to express themselves. And I think that's really important in looking at all the craziness we have in our world today. And kids need an outlet, and the museum has provided a wonderful outlet for that.
No, I do art specifically to put words and emotion on what's going on inside my head. And it is, Joseph Campbell says that the highest form of art is art that is born spontaneously, not for entertainment, but for expression, self-expression. And I, really went about my art off of something else that Joseph Campbell said, which was the highest form of art is to take the living mythology of a current time and reflect it back on its own constituency in an effort to help reveal the mythology of our living times. And so that's really what drives my ambition with art.
doing art, experiencing art, any involvement I have with art calms me. I think it changes my brain chemistry. It just makes me feel wonderful. Even if I'm frustrated when I'm sculpting, I think it's like it's made me a different person than I was prior to experiencing it. So I think it's really important that everybody experiences and learns as much as they can about art.
I believe that the Museum of Outdoor Arts is a successful community participant in that it can afford children in the community and the ability to participate in art experiences. In addition, the museum board and its members have created a collaboration with developers, cities, elected officials that allow for public art to be displayed in the prominent commercial developments. This legacy that has been created, we will see to it that it will continue for generations to come.
Leadership. Well, one of the things that I really strongly believe about leadership, you always hear, are leaders born or are they made? A lot of people think leaders are born. I really believe that leaders are made. Our school systems teach math, science, history, English, all the core subjects, and I think leadership is a learned quality, just like you learn math or science. So I'm a big proponent that a young person can learn the qualities about being a leader by shadowing other leaders and trying to follow their footsteps. One of the things that I think that's mostly true about being a leader is know thyself. I mean, you can have all types of studies of different types of leadership, but unless you truly know yourself and you're in touch with yourself and that creative side, you're never going to be an effective leader. Because people don't follow textbook leadership, they follow people, they follow character. And that's what's so great about the arts, is the arts is one part of our human nature that really teaches us how to be creative and how to really search who are you, what kind of person you are when you design and you create art. I think that's really it's the one thing that's really peeling the onion of exactly who you are, and I think that's the great correlation between art and leadership. Is art is the authentic part of leadership. And the Museum of Outdoor Arts, through their leadership programs like Design and Build and Raise Your Resolution, in my opinion, are probably one of the best leadership programs in the country. Teaching young people leadership skills and training through the arts. And the Museum of Outdoor Arts is by far one of the most amazing organizations that does just that.
I'm Jackie Kitzelman. I worked at the Museum of Outdoor Arts a number of years ago when we were just developing programs. We decided that the Outdoor Arts Museum provided a wonderful opportunity to do education programs for children in schools and as individuals, to use the Museum of Outdoor Arts as a jumping off place for telling stories, for building things, for architecture, for the human body, studying the human body, for studying the lions in the lion's den. We had a lot of opportunities to do many different things. And we also decided that one of the best things to do would be to teach kids how to build sculpture. This year, when the National Art Education Association has its conference in Denver, there will be 11 sculptures along the light rail starting at Denver International Airport and stopping in Littleton.
Creative thought is using your mind to invent something or do something yourself that no one else has tried, or something that someone's taught you and you bring it to a new level.
That idea, so we started working on it, and we just found that Mary and I were not the creative geniuses in designing these sort of monsters that we wanted as we thought the little kids would be. So we took our idea to a 3rd grade classroom and said, we need you guys to make some of these. And they came up with the rest of the ideas. And then we used, you know, the wood and chicken wire, and then eventually polyurethane to kind of create an idea.
Especially for this project, and especially the part of with the book, they were able to look at things that meant something to them, their own, and write them in their own words. And a lot of the people who weren't working just directly on this project wrote poetry for the book, and they were really involved. And I think that by going through and reading the poems in the book and being involved in this project, they were able to express a lot of their frustrations about judgment, about being an adolescent, about their sense of identity, who they are in the world. And I think that, you know, that's a problem that a lot of people have, not just adolescents, but they're really being productive about dealing with it, I think. They're not just letting it build up inside of them and screaming at their teachers.
Standing back and the day all the high schools showed off their art, it was really interesting first to go look at everyone else's art, and then standing back from our specific project and looking at it is pretty remarkable that a group of students so small can come up with not only a piece of sculpture, but every person that would pass it would think something different of it.
So as a public artist, I have seen and experienced the same thing that the design and build students go through, you know, with coming up first with a design, brainstorming, coming up with a design, creating a proposal, making a maquette, and then seeing it fully installed on site. And the value of what these students are learning is very much connected to the professional public art realm.
The location they picked was the site at Broadway and Hamden. It was the Broadway Fountain, which was already a beautiful spot. So when you looked at it, the idea was, how can you enhance this site? That's what they proceeded to do.
The magic of it is that it gives students real life skills that they will take with them for the rest of their life, whether they are future artists, public artists, or they decide to seek a career in architecture, engineering. Maybe there are city planners, maybe they're developing public transportation systems, maybe they're our mayor. These students are collaborating together to make something happen, to make a dream become a reality. Through the process, they were able to go through the stages that students don't usually receive until they're in their junior, senior year of college. And so they had a practical application of this experience, and were not as intimidated when they were assigned in college to create a model, create a proposal, visualize something. They already had done that through design and build.
This is so fun. It's a nice chance to connect with kids, and kids in a positive vein. I used to be a counselor at Englewood High School. Now I'm a professor at Arapahoe Community College, and I just can't stay away from working with kids. It's wonderful.
I'm Julie Grzoulis on the City Council in Englewood, and I also, my past life though, I was an artist, so I was so glad to be chosen for this project.
Hi, I'm Teresa Harper. I'm an English teacher at Englewood High School. I was invited to participate in this art project by some of my students, and I am so excited. I think creativity is something that we don't have enough time to participate in. I mean, I love to do these kind of things. I'm crafty anyway. I get it from my mother.
I'm the school board president, Mary Donay, and here I am working.
And I'd like to say that we've done such a good job suppressing crime in Englewood that we now have time to go out here and do works of art on our normal duty hours. But this is really a super way to get to know some of the teachers and some of the other community members, and especially some of the students. This is really a neat thing to be doing. It's a lot of fun, too.
The concept for the Grass Might Be Greener actually was a conglomeration of a lot of different ideas. Some girls wanted to do something that addressed the idea of landscape, and some people wanted the interactive part, and we just sat around a table and brainstormed, and from all of those ideas we were able to put together this one idea. The whole time that the girls were working on this piece, what was amazing is that they had a true idea of how it was going to look at the end. I mean, they really knew how these boxes were going to be viewed. So they really worked on perspective as they were creating the boxes, and they knew exactly how it was going to work when it went into the fence. And I don't think I even had that idea, but they seemed to know exactly how it was going to be viewed. They had no qualms about going there and putting it together. They knew it was going to be neat when people walked around and peeked in each hole.
Something's going to happen. Something wonderful.
This particular piece was a really great piece to build because everybody was able to actively participate. Creating those individual boxes was probably the biggest reward for that piece. Groups and individuals kind of claimed a box that became theirs and really poured a lot of time and attention into that box and really made it their artwork.
Something's going to happen.
One of the students that participated in this part was Desiree Hopkins, and Desiree fought a difficult battle of lupus and arthritis. She was involved in this, and so we dedicated this project to her because she died 1 week after we had installed it. And she wrote in her proposal, as we were putting it together, "Butterflies are free, just like me."
You know, another thing that drew me to the Museum of Outdoor Arts was Cynthia's whole concept of rage and resolution. I felt like, having been an investment banker for 10 years and having kind of jumped into the American dream, that there's a lot of confusing energy around that, and to give kids an opportunity to voice internal emotions through the manifestation of art, I think is an incredible gift. And I think that the work that Todd Seiler is doing with the museum, with the kids, helping them with specifically with rage and resolution and design and build, is an incredible gift to bring art back into the community as it was originally intended.
The arts allow you a means to take what's in here rumbling around and to make it tangible in some way, or intangible, to even help you understand it. So I always say that in the context of even science and understanding and stuff, I say that art really enables science to see, and science enables art to understand what it's seeing. And that's how I think the two of them complement one another. You know, they're integrated that way. And they allow us to take our ragefulness, our violent tendencies. I mean, we are human beings, and all of that stuff that's primordial in us, all of the thing that's wired in us, literally like part of the whole deep brain, old part of the brain, are things that I don't know if we'll ever fully control them. But in fact, the arts help us put them, marshal them into some power and empower us so that we can express and help us understand ourselves. I think the anger and the fear happen when we don't understand.
Frustration, anger, oppression, disrespect, trickery, the mind game, violent inconsiderate, criticism, indescribable.
Once upon a time, a long time ago,
in the beginning, when it all began,
there was a great void.
empty and dark and cold,
as dry as my mother's sense of humor. And out of that void came a moan of infinite sorrow and desperation.
It grew with a boom.
It sprouted thorns of rage,
unexpectedly entangling the souls of all the living, and filling the empty ring.
the melody slowly unwound.
The strands of the unconscious darkness.
This is the 2004 Scholastic Art Awards show and exhibition, Colorado Regional Program. The Museum of Outdoor Arts has done this show for over 8 years. We have 95 schools that participated this year, with over 500 pieces that actually won awards and are hanging on the walls here at the MOA galleries in Inglewood.
This show represents the best of the best. We have work from three-dimensional to photography, drawing and painting, digital imagery, graphics, sculpture. Scholastics is a show that represents hard work. It's hard work that has been done by the students and their work. It's hard work by the teachers who have matted, filled out the forms, brought them in from all over the state. Then it's hard work by the Museum of Outdoor Arts.
Brower starts by stitching together the basic structure out of batting or a stretchy material like nylon. This gives a foundation for features like the nose, lips, and chin. Onto this, a layer of crinoline is stitched onto the piece. Although time-consuming, this intricate layering process gives Brower the control needed to make each figure she creates unique. No two faces, as no two people, are alike. Their structure, posture, and expression make each one an individual. After each shape is formed, it is covered with opaque and translucent silk. For color, Brower applies fabric she has colored, layering each one on with an acrylic gel until each figure's color is right. Sometimes color may be added directly to the form with brush or colored pencil. Tools, shoes, and clothes are sewn, layered, and constructed in much the same way. The figures, their clothes and limbs stuffed with batting, are covered with translucent silk and then hand-stitched onto the canvas. Working from both sides with an assistant, Brower makes certain each figure takes its proper place upon the canvas.
As a museum's overriding purpose or mission is to make art a part of everyday life, the addition of performances was a natural choice. Along with the Four Seasons, other programs have included Carnival of the Animals, Icon, Midsummer Nocturne, Signs of Life, Baliagong, and Acrobasia. That was also incorporated into the opening of a major art exhibition. The list of collaborative partners is long and includes some very well-known organizations, such as the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, David Taylor Dance Theater, Up Close and Musical, Colorado Ballet, and many others.
We first started working with Cynthia back in 1989 when the Museum of Outdoor Arts was located out at the Denver Tech Center. And our first artistic collaboration was an incredible performance entitled Baliagong. And Cynthia and the museum were so supportive and cooperative in terms of not only helping fund the event, but more importantly, contributing resources and helping us facilitate getting the space and organizing the entire event. And this is when I first really became aware that Cynthia and the museum were really, I think, part of a rare breed here in Denver in terms of arts organizations, in terms of their willingness and excitement in doing artistic collaborations that were not of the usual kind. We have collaborated on numerous projects, all of which have had the focus of arts integration, and many of which are designed for children and families to show the benefits and the qualities of experience that can be brought out through combining music, art, visual art, dance, and with themes and subjects that are really quite unusual. I think our next biggest project probably was the Four Seasons, which was premiered in 1997 on the Colorado Symphony's program series for families and children down at Betcher Concert Hall. And this wonderful project combined film and narration, visual art, and dance and live music, and the Four Seasons became a wonderful hit and a success, and we have done it numerous times since then.
As young people need to be exposed to opportunities for creativity, and if they see it and experience it through music, I think that it broadens their perspective on what their lives could be. I feel it's a divine form of communication, and I have the greatest respect for it, and I'm always delighted with the power that music seems to have. The integration of the arts is not a stretch by anybody's terms, because art is actually, in my definition, an expression of life. So any form of that expression that is done in a sophisticated way can easily be integrated, no matter what the art form is.
When I got into grade school and I started making friends, not too many of my friends had had the opportunities that I had had being influenced by the arts. I mean, you take advantage of it because I took advantage of it because I was around it all the time. Art was a part of my everyday life. But then I got into school, and what? You mean you don't know about sculptors, you don't know about painters, you don't know about, and just because they had never been influenced by it. So I feel really fortunate that I had that opportunity and still continue to have that opportunity.
And I started cleaning sculptures when I was 8 years old, and I started doing sculptures with my brother. And I started with a bronze one back there, but my most memorable experience is with this one behind me, because I used to get up on his wings and kind of scrub them, and it used to take hours, but it was really fun. Being brought up by a creative family, when I started in art classes, and then I moved on to sculpture cleaning, not only did I learn about art, I also learned how to clean art, how to interact with art, how to view art, how to critique art, and then through sculpture cleaning, for example, I learned patience, because most sculptures, like these lions, you have to get in every nook and cranny and get all the dirt, and then you have to polish it a few times over. So I learned a lot of patience, which I use in my everyday life.
That I've had the
pleasure of doing quite a few varied things with the museum. The most notable or the most memorable are moving the multi-ton, top-heavy sculptures around the various places that we end up moving pieces of art with the museum. From the Grace Knowlton's spheres and Alice in Wonderland, from Harlequin Plaza over to Greenwood and over to the circle behind Fiddler's. We get to move them not just once, but 2 or 3 times in some cases. And when you're married to the director of the museum, it puts a whole new perspective to honey-do lists, let me tell you. You get to learn a lot about how sculpture doesn't last outside. Even though I've been around art all my life, the natural tendency is to think that, well, bronze is made out of metal, it doesn't require upkeep, or stone lions, any of those kinds of things, but we found out otherwise from the Brooklyn Bridge, which is kind of like after you tear it apart and take off all the rust, it's kind of like a rusty beer can that's painted. And sometimes you have to take it all off and rebuild it like we did. Or some of Harry's bronze pieces that have interesting structures on the inside that you can't see that require maintenance. And the concrete lions, which weigh a ton. But over the years we found out that the crane operators and those guys that give us a hand on moving those things really enjoy it. And they like to talk about it. It's not like moving a air handler to the top of a building. When they get to move a 5,500-pound lion, they think it's pretty neat.
I'd have to say the Denver Symphony performances at Fiddler's Green, because one of them in particular happened to be on my 8th birthday, which was kind of fun. So they sang happy birthday to me, and a crowd of probably, I don't know, 18, 20,000 people. So yeah, it's pretty memorable. The day the Harlequins came to Harlequin Plaza, that was kind of fun when they uncrated them and set them, and as little kids you're looking at that thinking, wow, I mean, this is something my mom started, something my granddad started, and you know, the older I got, the more I respected, you know, what's happened in my family. It's kind of cool. Then, you know, it seemed very big, bronze pieces that were just, you know, standing there like figures in some kind of play, or, you know, just a nice scene.
Maybe the key to real longevity and success is how you give and take and flow with your environment, and the things that can't die out.
Community. I mean, if you can take in a development like this and put art like this in it, and I think kids can see it, people who go to work every day can enjoy it, the ducks, the landscape, sure. And I think it's not like going downtown to the Denver Art Museum or to any other museum that's enclosed in an area that you can't go and sit down and have a picnic or admire it from your office window, or bring your family out on the weekend and take walks and go see a concert at Fiddler's Green. You know that, you know, this is the Museum of Outdoor Arts. I mean, it's awesome.
My little child and I.
Yes.
It just seems like yesterday that we were down there in West Texas, and I was hunting coats, and that's coyotes the way you are. And my daughter says, "Daddy, let's get our ass out of this place and go somewhere nice." So we came up to Denver, where we learned words like ubiquity.
Thanks, Dad.
The Museum of Outdoor Arts is unique in its combination of art, architecture, and landscape architecture. The reason being is all three of them are art disciplines in their own right, and the combination can fail. But I think we've done a successful job of it.
Do you like the Museum of Outdoor Art?
No.
You brat. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because now let me.
No, you got to answer my question.
What do you like? What?
What do you like about the museum?
Art.